Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yeah, there you go. And I thank you for the good show on my part here. My name is Dan. I'm the weekend guy. This is Dave Taylor, our parts service director. What do you call that?
Fixed operations manager.
He's the boss.
I thought he
They
was a
decided
weekend
not to
man
give me
too.
a raise, just give me more work.
Yeah.
So thank you all for coming. I have one of my two new hearing aids in, so I can hear really good on this side, and I'm deaf as a post over there. But thank you all for coming. This is all about sealing your roof and roof maintenance. This is mostly Dave Taylor's field of expertise. I have a few thoughts, but nothing compared to what he knows. This is driven by your questions. Dave and I together we're working on about 75 years now, combined experience in the industry.
And I've only been doing it 5.
How did I know that?
That's our Laurel and Hardy right there.
So anyway, ask questions. We have a very, very basic outline. Okay, we don't have an outline, so we're going to start with Dave Taylor. He's going to talk about sealing your roof and your maintenance, and I'm going to slip in and out as we go. Raise your hand and we'll get going.
Okay, so this is usually our shortest seminar, but we started doing it 2 years ago because you'd be surprised in the summer how many people come in the first hot day with their air conditioner not working. And in the winter, the first thing that happens is we get calls on, my furnace quit working. I don't know why we don't get air conditioning questions in December. That the furnace is always not working, or they noticed a leak. And most of the time when they bring it in, it's a leak that they could have prevented, and probably should have, because they didn't inspect their roof every 90 days. Most manufacturers, even if you buy your trailer or motorhome brand new, down in the small writing, right below the small writing, it says that usually seals and adjustments are only covered 90 days. There's a reason for that. Because these things, a lot of them come from back east, some of them come up from Pendleton, California. They travel up and down the road. They have people that make mistakes like anybody, sealing roofs, putting sealant on, and every now and again there's a gap or a void. So we usually, upon inspection to sell it to you, do as good of an inspection as we can. However, sometimes there's little holes that almost can't be seen by the human eye that water will wick in. So, saying that, what we're hoping you do is when you get home, you or somebody you trust get up on your roof, take some pictures, and inspect your roof seals. Because probably, definitely one of the highest cost repairs we do are water intrusion repairs, either sidewalls, roofs, or floors. We've had people put their unit away in September, open them back up about March, and call us and come in. We do anywhere from $3,000 to total your vehicle, depending on what it is, just in 6 months. So you got to keep the water out. There's a lot of ways to do that in the winter. There's moisture inside, there's rain, snow, wind, sleet, and all that. So saying that, you want to inspect your roofs. We're going to start with roofs. We'll go to side seams and all that good stuff. Then Dan can tell you all about covers. And now everybody here, if you have an RV, has some kind of a roof vent under your unit, correct? Either a fantastic fan or a crank up or whatever. And I'm all discombobulated today. They got me. I think Gerald messing with the microphone messing me up. Okay, on your roof, you're going to have this vent. And it's going to have a base that looks about like that. And on this base, you're going to have a lid that goes up and down. I was not great in art class, so please forgive me.
That's beautiful.
Well, thank you. You're going to have these screw holes about every 6 inches going around this thing. And in fact, manufacturer's responsibility is to put a tacky tape. They call it tacky tape, clay tape. Years ago it was clay tape. Now they call it tacky tape, gum tape. Underneath the lip of this, when they cut that big hole in your roof, he put it right back to where I had it.
It's okay, Darryl.
And then they mash this thing down, and then they put screws in it to tighten it down. Then they're gonna come around with their version of, and usually it's some kind of a self-leveling sealant. They buy it in 55-gallon drums, and the guy up there has a hose, and he doesn't have to squeeze this out. His is high power fast. He's gonna take that, and he's gonna cover the edges. Hello, Jeremy. Hello, sir. That's Jeremy, one of our technicians that come in on his day off to head to Planet Ball to save us at the show.
Jeremy, that's Sasquatch.
So, internally, what this guy's gonna do is, after the guy in front of him put this in, he's gonna run around and he's gonna put a blob on every screw. Then he's gonna come around and he's gonna follow this with this sealant to cover this edge. So what happens is, this guy up there is in a hurry, it's 2 minutes of break time, he's got a ham sandwich waiting, and he doesn't quite catch this corner very good. So we try to find that. We're human, we might miss it. What can happen here is, even with that tacky tape, that water can wick underneath and get inside. Well, you don't see it until 3 or 4 or 5 cups is in there. When it's dripping, there's already some in there. So you got to open things up, get fans on it, get it dry, and see why it's leaking. We get a lot of roof vent leaks. However, if you've had it 60, 90, 120 days, 2 years, 3 years, where they seal this with that sealant, like I say, it's a big blob of, when we reseal the roof, we do what we call a tape line, which is relay tape around the edges. And when you seal it, we paint it on, so when you peel the tape, it looks really good. Just, most people aren't on the roof. There's just something about getting up there and seeing a nice seal job. Right here, where this level is, you got a lot of expansion and contraction due to heat, correct? Correct. And what happens is, over time, with the heat and the cold and the expansion and contraction, you'll start to get a visible crack looking right on top of this crack. It'll be this little wavy crack. And you'll see it because it'll be kind of brown in color because it's started separating just enough where dust and dirt goes in it. It's okay, it doesn't mean you have a leak yet. Always the best thing to do is get the appropriate sealant, get up on the roof, and just put a little rubber bead over that crack. Word bead over that crack. That's going to mean that crack that was underneath, that was opening and closing, is now filled with sealant and has some over the top. You're basically going to cure that problem the first year of life of the coach. About every 6 months after that, you're going to check, keep checking. Anything that looks odd up there, put some sealant on it. However, before you cover this, I forgot the important part, you're going to get a degreasing solvent. Going to wipe wherever you're going to seal, you're going to wipe down so that you have clean contact. They sell this in 2 versions: a spray or this little can.
And bath size.
Yes. So you're going to wipe it down. You're going to seal anything that doesn't look right. Now we offer a free roof inspection, so if you want to, don't just drive in Monday morning, all of you at the same time, or it could get confusing. You have to call and say, hey, I want a free roof inspection. The lady's going to say, sure, let's schedule again for 3 o'clock next Tuesday. When you get there, that's for the inspection only, because we have a lot of people that show up and want the roof inspected. We inspect it and say, wow, you need 7 hours of work. And they're like, okay, go ahead and take it in and do it. We weren't really planning on 7 hours worth of work that day extra. So with 40 technicians, we have to schedule to keep this big thing rolling right and keep everybody happy. So we may have to say, Mr. Brown, we'll have to schedule you for 2 weeks from now, and then we'll be happy to take care of you. Or if you're that person that can do it, we will actually show you the proper material to use, and you're welcome to get up there and do an overlay. An overlay is where you overlay basically every bit of the sealant this guy put up here. You're going to overlay that whole, you're going to group it on. And you're good for another, probably a couple years. You get to do that once. After that, we're gonna bring it in and say, yeah, you need some work. However, there's a lot of sealant up there now. So we need to do it, peel and seal. Then when we tell you the price, you're gonna go cringe a little bit. What most people don't realize is we have to get up there, we get up there with a torch and a scraper, and we're very carefully remove about 95% of that old sealant off the roof. And when you're done, you have basically a brand new, better than factory roof seal. However, depending on the unit, that could be 10 to 16 hours at $130 an hour, and 14 to 20 tubes of sealant at $12 a tube. However, one of the best maintenance you can do on your unit. Once you get water in it, it starts rotting, it's ugly. And it travels fast. I've seen units in here less than 2 years old, $30,000 units that they just haul right down the street here to the junkyard. So you gotta keep an eye on it. In the winter, don't just look out the dining room window at the side of your motorhome trailer and say, yeah, everything's good. Go out there every couple of weeks, open the door, open the slide rooms, look in cabinets, base of cabinets along the walls, make sure there's no water. If you see water, it's getting in somewhere. It's better to find it early than late. Any questions? I know I have one back here because my hand went up.
So do you do the free roof inspections on the weekend?
We can. You kind of have to come down and ask for Dan, and he will have somebody in here come do it. We prefer to do them during the week when I have 40 people running around rather than 3.
What are the hours?
8 to 5.
And how long does one take?
Usually
Just
5 minutes. 5 minutes to do the inspection. And if you know, we usually try not to have customers up on the roof. We just had one up. We had a service writer take one up. We try not to have customers up on the roof unless you feel safe doing it.
He did not welcome me up, I followed him
And
up.
that's fine.
That was my own
And
job.
we always tell them, if the customers feel safe, they can get on the roof, that's great. But a lot of people, they don't want to be up on the roof. So, yeah. So, usually what we'll do, nowadays we have these cool phones, we can take videos or pictures, and we can get down and show you this is the spot. And a lot of the time we just tell you, hey, it looks great, come see us in 90, 120 days. Sometimes we get down and it's like, So, check them. Yeah.
So is the only way to remove that stuff with a torch, or is there other means?
You can try to do it without, but you're gonna have a lot of blisters, and you're gonna be up there for a week.
So,
That stuff is a self-leveling, kind of a rubbery, sorry.
no, that's all right. I was just gonna clarify it a little bit. We get scrapers and we heat them up with a torch, not glowing hot, just hot, and then it comes off like
Butter.
butter.
Yeah, it just
And you just keep
slices.
heating that torch, get it hot, and it'll smoke a little bit, but we can just peel
But
it
you
right
wanna go
off.
slow, because that sealant's almost as hard as your EPDM rubber roof. And if you get it too hot, it'll just go right up through the rubber. At that point, then you got a problem, then we got to staple and extend the seal and try to save it and do all sorts. What does EPDM stand for again?
Ethylene poly dimorphic rubber.
Just EPDM.
That's why I just call it EPDM.
Yeah,
And then if somebody says, what's that mean? I say some long words.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go see Dan.
Yeah, I go see it, yeah.
If we sort of do our own sealing and we use the cleaner, actually I had my roof inspected a couple of weeks ago. He said, yeah, you want to get up there, do the cleaning, and I think he said, try and remove some of the.
If you feel comfortable doing it. How old is your unit?
Probably 3 years.
3 years? Has it had any roof sealant done yet on it?
No.
Yeah, you're probably okay not to remove a bunch.
Okay.
As long as you get it clean, you can do what we call the overlay.
Okay.
Just overlay those spots. And then probably within the next year or two, you'll be able to milk it along for the next year or two.
Yeah.
And then usually 5 to 6 years is where we see that, where we get down, we actually tell the customer, you've got to get deeper than just an overlay.
but clean it enough just so you don't really see any dirt or debris.
Yeah, and in that crack, you're gonna see that little dark line, it's just
Yeah.
gonna stay there.
Okay.
So, yeah, just cover it up good. Yes,
Sorry, is the roof inspection also included in that $99?
yes,
Yes.
yes it is. Hello,
So you're talking about an overlay around the seams where you think it could be problematic. The first thing to do would be like just a little overlay with what material?
sealants, and Dan's gonna talk to you all about sealants in a minute, because there's all sorts of types. This is, well, I'm not gonna, I was just gonna start talking about acrylic.
Okay.
I'll let you do. Yes.
One more question. I'm 260 pounds.
Okay.
Getting up on my roof makes me a little nervous.
You mean just because of the weight?
Just because my fat ass might fall through.
Well, what do you own?
What's that?
What, you own a
It's a, Jayco, yeah.
Jayco. I jump up, I'm 275.
Wait a minute, he'll be right back with you. I forgot something.
Really?
Sorry about that.
Lift with your back.
I'll tell you what, we got so busy at our show in K Falls that we got the panic calls. So in turn, my panic call went out to the one guy I know who always say, I'm on my way, and that was him. So he's worked about 10 hours a day all last week, and he's heading out today to go do it. He'll be back here next week and not miss a beat.
You did an emergency walk last Sunday too.
So, yeah, we've all the workplaces have those employees, he's the one you count on. So I have several, but he was the one that was big. So anyways, getting up on the roof. I'm 270, 75 right now, I finished 320 when I was teching. If you have a fiberglass motorhome like this, no problem. Trailer, you're really not gonna have too much of a problem if you pay attention to where you're stepping. You're gonna have a trailer. Roof sections in a trailer are set 4 by 8, just like on the floor in a house. And your stringer's every 2 feet. So if you stand right in the middle and jump up and down, yeah, you're gonna hear some cracking and some noises. Just try to stay, you'll see the seams under your rubber. They will be visible.
Okay.
So just try to stay somewhere close to a stringer. Then not, then all over roofs. And 99% of them are fine. Some of the smaller, less expensive units, they actually have less than an eighth of an inch of luan over the, you'll know. The Jayco, I wouldn't have a problem at all putting it on the roof.
Okay.
Yeah, piece of cake. Yeah.
The tape that they put down before they put the goop on top of it, if it has little rises in it, like little,
The edge.
the edge is not flat on there, it has a little bump on it, is that something you need to be concerned about?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. A lot of these people don't, when you're talking tape. What did you have again?
It's a lance.
Lance? Lance trailers, more of the Highliner trailers. So what they do, and a lot of the motorhomes did and still do, is they have this tape called Dicor or poly tape, or it's a tape. It either has a white top on it or an aluminum shiny top. It's so sticky that as soon as you touch it, something is there. It's kind of like, you ever take duct tape and accidentally touch it together? Just throw it away and peel another piece. That's the way this tape is. Manufacturers actually take this tape and they tape this whole seam
Good
in this
stuff.
square.
Really good stuff.
And then, some of them actually take this sealant and will seal along this edge. Some don't. You have a rising on the edge here. As long as that rise doesn't go across, as long as it's not going up or it's actually let loose but they didn't clean it right, you're fine. Eventually what will happen is in 5 or 6 years when you come in, we'll tell you, hey, you're starting to get enough of these lifts in this tape that what we'll want to do is go through and do this sealant on the edge of this tape. And then that'll get you a lot longer. Really good, it's a really good product, it's expensive.
And if I did that just as a preventative, prophylactic to put in there, is that okay too?
Yes.
And it doesn't hurt to put the stuff on, right?
No, it does not. And you just put a little, make sure it's really good and clean. And in that little pocket, squirt you a little first, and then fill over your crack. Yeah. Everybody understand the tape thing? I can go get a roller if you need to, but it's not super cheap. They actually, this company right here sells a repair kit with that tape in it. So if you're out in the woods and you scrape a tree, you get a tear, you just clean it, stick that stuff down, put some sealant around the edge, and other than you knowing there was a hole there and there's a patch, that patch will last just as long as your roof will, just as long as the original rubber. So somebody had a hand up when I started talking again.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
When you finish with leaks, you're gonna go into the actual care of the rubber itself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. That's Dan's favorite thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we had bought this from our company. It's a 98, good. And a year or two ago, they went through, they did the scrape, the peel and seal on it. Okay, and so at the $100 spring tune-up, they said 80% of the surface of it has little voids, where they hadn't probably cleaned it properly before they put the seal on. Okay. They estimated a 3.5-hour job to seal it. How long would that last? And B, how many times can that be done before you have to do another peel?
It's going to last right up until it starts leaking. I hate to say that, but a lot of people, we sell enough new units that people will call a week after they bought their unit and the refrigerator quit working. And the first thing they say is it's brand new. However, it was man-made and anything new can break.
Oh, yeah.
So we guarantee it for 90 days, just like the manufacturer, for our work and material. It'll last, depending on where you live and how much you drive, it'll last 6 months, or it could last 10 years. You know, sun and rain and snow and moving and everything wears at it. So if you do that, you shouldn't have to look at it again for 6 months and then look at it in a year, and just keep your eye on it. Yeah.
Still, this is a question about the underside of the trailer. Can I ask about that? If you have a new travel trailer like a Jayco, and they have that plastic stuff underneath the seal underneath the trailer, is it, when you drive when it's rainy and all the splash is coming up underneath, does that do an effective job of keeping your the trailer dry, or is it recommended not to drive in rainstorm?
No, all it is just a little bit of a cover to help keep critters out and help keep the wind out in the winter. Water is going to get up in there if you're driving. If you don't want to drive in the rain, that's up to you, but I camp a lot in the rain. It's not going to hurt it. It's not going to hurt anything.
It won't cause dry rot.
No, any water that gets in there is below floor line. So, yeah. Okay. More questions? I'm ready. I'm loaded.
Go down.
That's the other technician, Ted. He doesn't work hard enough during the week, so we make him come in on Saturday. Okay, you want to start with some of the stuff you like? Because that'll bring on more questions.
Okay. So I want to reinforce a couple things that Dave has said. We do this because we have the experience and we want to help you improve your RV experience. Having said that, we're not trying to sell you anything, but we do a spring, fall tune-up, winter tune-up, it's the same thing, different name every quarter. So part of that spring and fall and winter and summer tune-up is the free roof inspection. And if you can get a hold of me, I only work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. If you can get a hold of me, leave me a message. I've got cards up there. I can get you in and we can look at it. like Dave said, the tech will get up on the roof, or our shop supervisor, whoever, and they'll take pictures of any issues. Then you can come to me and I can go over how to repair it if you want to do it yourself. We have more work than we can handle, and so we're always willing to help people help themselves. One of the things that's a really big deal is if you want to do it yourself, don't go to Jerry's and buy some whatever's on sale sealant, because the kind of materials that they have in these tubes can a lot of times damage the rubber. There's what's called a carrier solvent inside these sealants. This carrier solvent keeps the material, the fluid, so you can caulk it out of the tube. If a lot of these home construction sealants, their carrier solvent will actually not just etch into the rubber membrane, but they will break it down and destroy it. So as much as I love Jerry's, don't go to Jerry's for this. These sealants are all designed to be inert to ethylene polydimorphic rubber, EPDM rubber. They're also very good with fiberglass, and so these are very safe for an RV. This is the material that the manufacturer, these are the people that actually designed, developed the rubber roof, and they started using it in warehouses. And they last and last and last. In RVs, they flex a lot more, so the part that fails is 99% of the time this lap sealant. This particular sealant is for horizontal surfaces because it's kind of runny, it's like honey. They also make the same thing for vertical surfaces, so if your rubber roof rolls over the rocker panel and becomes vertical, then you can still seal it with this lap sealant, but there is one for horizontal and one for vertical. One of the things that I was a little slow to pick up on, but I finally decided it was just fine, is your rubber roof. It sits out. It gets dirt, which they call industrial fallout, and that's what the gray stuff is that rolls off, it rinses off, runs down the side of your coach. That's dirt. The white stuff is the pigment on top of that black rubber membrane. And that pigment will atrophy, for whatever lack of a better word, it will break down and run off the side of the coach over a period of years, and that's what the white stuff is. Nasty stuff. So the way to stop that is if you have a pressure washer, get up and pressure wash your roof. Don't try to drill holes with it. Keep the wand about 6 to 9 inches away and just rinse it off real good. After it's dry, go up and mop this stuff on. It is really good for sealing the rubber membrane, and it will make the whole system, the seals that Dave's talking about, the rubber membrane, it will make it last a lot longer because it's actually putting a barrier between the rubber and the sealant and the environment. Really good stuff. You just pour it out, mop it on, slop it, it's no big deal, yes.
Is it a cleaner also?
No, sir. That's why you do it after you pressure wash. It doesn't clean. And they sell this company and this company, this company sell cleaners, but that's just a waste. Back in the beginning, when Dicor first developed the EPDM rubber, they for 20 years said, spick and span. You go to Jerry's, you go to Home Depot, and you can buy spick and span, a good floor stripper, and you can mop it off that if you want. It really works. It'll strip that down to just about nothing. When it's dry, come up and just glop this on, mop it around. The only caution is if you then get up on your roof when it's been like this morning at 6, it was really misty and it was moist. you're gonna kill yourself because it's slick. This stuff gets really, I found out almost the hard way. It is really slick when you've applied it. But you don't wanna be partying up there anyway. But it really does a good job. It cuts down on the amount of material that's shed off the side of the roof. You don't have that white streaking anymore. You still have the dirt, but that's life. Really good stuff. You do this about once a year. Not that hard to do. Yes, sir.
Your buddy up on the other end suggested that I have your detail people here do a roof clean.
Yeah, that's what this is. If you,
See, I don't have a pressure washer, and I don't.
yeah.
We do have a detail department that will do a roof clean.
Would that be sufficient?
Well, what I would say is go to Home Depot or look at Jerry's and buy some spick and span. That stuff will really do, you just like mopping a floor.
But he doesn't do good on a roof.
Okay, then we can do that.
That's what, yeah.
So-
We
so
do
that's
have
a-
people that can do all of this.
Okay.
They can pressure wash it, and then the service people can do this stuff on top.
Okay.
And this is the same guy that told you to call me the old fat guy with a ponytail?
Well, that's a nice version of what he
Yeah,
said.
that's a nice one, yeah.
Better find him.
Yeah, kids, what do you do with them?
You know exactly who that guy is, too.
So anyway, good stuff. Yes,
What about, what's recommended for cleaning things like your TV antenna or the AC?
the best
Cover.
thing out there is, and the reason I'm answering it this way, because there's a lot of good cleaners. We went through a learning curve on this back around the turn of the century, started doing domes, and people get up there with cleaners like whatever that stuff, Windex.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And all of these cleaners like Windex and your kitchen cleaners and soaps, a lot of times have little sparkly things in them to make them look bright and clean, but that reflects the signal. So on antennas and things, so if you have a crank up antenna and you spray Windex on it, you just lost half your signal. So the best thing that we found was my senility just kicked in. The 303 spray that they make for the aerospace protectant. It is a very good cleaner and it's good for any kind of a plastic, and it doesn't have any materials in it that will reflect signal. And it's good for vents, it's good for anything plastic, but we used it on top of the domes and the antennas because it did not have any reflectivity. And that was a very good thing.
So even though it's a protectant, you can use it as a cleaner?
Yeah, you come up to it dirty with a wad of it in your rag and you're done.
Okay.
It picks up the bad stuff and leaves a sheen on it, and it'll dry and protect it. It actually, if you were here last time, I was talking about the spray for the wipe seals. It's really good material. It's very good for taking care of the plastics.
Is that the same thing you can use on your awnings?
On what?
On your awnings? Is that the same?
Any kind of a plastic.
Okay.
It's very good for plastics, and boaters use that on their cheap chrome. On the really good stainless steel and heavy blue chrome, you don't need to do that, but on the cheap chrome, that works good, keeps the pitting out.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anyway, did you have something, Dave, you wanted?
So you've got 3 different bottom tubes, it looks like, of that stuff. So why would we choose one over the other?
Well, I'm getting to that. Okay, this is what the manufacturers, this is the company, Dicor, that actually makes the rubber, and this is what, for the most part, we use. Then there are specialty sealants, like Acryl R. Acryl R is an extremely expensive, about twice as much as that, but a very good sealant. And we use it in certain applications. It's a more difficult sealant to use, but it is an extremely good sealant, and it is paintable, and you can get it in a lot of different colors. It's just a different brand, but it's a lot, somewhat more durable.
Some of the EPDM roofs will not warranty their roof if you use this on it though, because the carrier solvent is heavier. So around here, we usually suggest this for rubber. This will do anything. This is the best for aluminum, fiberglass, and wood. So that's why it's important to talk to the people where you're gonna buy it and get. And then he'll explain that.
And if you come in on the weekend, and I actually am here for work, anyway, I can go over these with you and show you exactly what you need and how much you'll need and how to use it. This one, this is for vertical surfaces. It is very good for fiberglass, metal, anything. We don't use silicone. Back in the day, we used to, when the trailers were aluminum skin and the window was aluminum frame, and we'd use silicone, and we'd find out that the silicone would attach itself molecularly to the one aluminum and then would repel itself from the other piece of aluminum or metal, because silicone is a polar material. It's like a magnet. If you have two like surfaces, it will adhere molecularly. You'll never get it off to one and repel from the other. So we stopped using silicone back in the late 70s. So for vertical surfaces, this is the best thing that we have been able to come up with in our industry. It is very good for any outside, like you have plastic marker lights against fiberglass or metal against whatever. This works well, and it's like somewhere like toothpaste. And Dave will tell you how to put it on. And this, what he's playing with, is my favorite. And but they don't use that much anymore. But how do you do that?
I don't know, I've never used it.
Whatever.
Put it on like silicone.
You put it on like silicone.
It's harder to work with.
However, it's harder to work with, stickier, messier. So you're gonna put it on. Less is more. You get a lot of people who cut the whole top off and it's all gooped up everywhere. When you get this on, this stuff's hard to play with. It doesn't just wipe off real quick with your finger. It's sticky, it's like honey. So as you dip your finger in it, it's stuck to you. So you're gonna want a lot of cleaner, some rags. You're gonna, smaller the better. Spread it into the hole evenly rather than up over the surface. On the roof, it doesn't matter. We're trying to cover large surfaces. It can look a little goopy. Side of your brand new or your quality RV is not where you want that.
Can you use grout spreaders on those?
So you can. You're almost better to use your finger.
What was the question?
Grout spreader. You can. They come up with a lot of the new guys that start an RV. They always think they got it figured out, and after about a year, you'll notice they're over there. And a lot of us old timers, that's why we're a little crazy in this industry. When we put this on, the best way to keep your finger from sticking into it was to lick your finger. Lick our finger and wipe a little, lick our finger and wipe a little. And so EPA's kind of told us we can't do that anymore. So I think he still may have some at home. He might use it. So now what the guys do is you'll put this around the area you're going to seal, and they hit it with a little Windex or a little something liquid, even just water. And the water breaks the tension between the sealant and your finger, so your finger doesn't stick to it. Then you put it on, the water dries, it looks great.
So why are these guys still licking their fingers?
That's why I'm asking. So my only reason for this being my favorite is it's really comparable to this ProFlex. ProFlex is your side seal. This is what you're going to use on all this pretty little trailer. You got to remember that every place they drilled a hole, stuck something through, shoved the antenna through, put the front cap seam on, the rear cap seam, the side caps, the satellite, the door, the stove vent. Everywhere they ripped a hole in the side of this thing, there's a place to leak. So this is the best stuff to use around those areas. However, when you get there, there's going to be sealant there already. Even though it's cracked and you know it needs to be replaced, you have to try to get some of that old sealant out. Best thing to do is, if you know somebody in the windshield business, you can have them bring you, we call them putty bones. They're a nylon scraper. It helps to not scratch the side of your unit. Don't go out there with a razor blade or a chisel. It's not going to be pretty. So you can take some Acrosol, pour a little Acrosol on that. Do not let the Acrosol run across your decals. If you do, wipe it off, because if not, it will suck underneath that decal, and when you come out, the sealant will be real easy to move, but your decal will be on the ground. So you want to, that will help loosen it up. Or you can take a toothbrush, the old one, cut the end off, sharpen it with a little piece of sandpaper. An old toothbrush and that nylon will help get the old sealant off.
That's why you don't put it back in your mouth, huh?
That's right. So this is great for the sides. This is almost the same product, different. This is what we used 30 years ago when I started in the 32 years ago in the industry.
40.
So the reason I like this is because I have a big fifth wheel. I keep this in my toolbox. And believe it or not, different people find different things relaxing. But when we go to the campground and we get everything set out, everything opened up, it's a nice day, birds are chirping. I've had a couple Dr. Peppers.
Is that what all? Dr. Pepper?
Yeah, I quit drinking years ago. Had to. I had a problem with my elbow. So Dr. Peppers. And I'll sit there, and all of a sudden she'll see me, and I'll jump up and get the toolbox, and I'll grab this, and I'll get me some paper towels. And it's a great time to just kind of relax. If you see a little spot, wipe it with the paper towel, get it clean, fill a little spot, wipe it out. Just do that every now and then.
Camping life.
Like I say, it doesn't always have to be the biggest hole that causes the most problems. It can just be that little one that you just spotted. So when you just spotted it, you might as well just put a little on it.
Is that clear, or does it come in
This
different
is clear.
colors?
You can get white, clear, and I believe you can get
Aluminum.
silver.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
comes out like a grayish silver aluminum. We had a question back here. Yeah.
When you, on brand new travel trailers, they have a caulking that is, I don't know what it is, it's soft and it's,
Gooey.
yeah. When do you decide to replace that? And is that okay, or should you just get rid of that and put one of these on instead?
Okay, she's talking about that stuff I call play tape, tacky tape, stuff like that. A lot of manufacturers put that around their windows, doors. Everywhere a flashing is going to be put down and screwed on, they put that underneath. And usually the first year is the worst. It will start to ooze out a little bit. And at first it's white, and then it starts getting dirt in it, and it turns black. Usually for quite a few years, you're okay if it bugs you. It can look unsightly. It's not the prettiest thing on the side of the new unit, is to take that toothbrush and just scrape it off. Scrape that little, the extra putty off. And then go back with this on a little bit of a rag, and wipe it. This will take that stuff off the side real quick. And then you're all pretty again, just like you bought it. What happens with that, not so much the new stuff, 20 years ago that stuff, it was a clay base, and it would dry out and get hard. Then it would crack, and that crack would be an area for water to penetrate into the siding. The newer stuff isn't. It's an actual, I'm sure it has some weird long name that he can say and I can't, but it doesn't. So 10 years from now, 8 years from now, if we look at it and we see anything weird, we may suggest trimming it, cleaning it, and then adding a secondary layer of something like this. What did you have again? I forget.
Jacob.
Okay. You're going to be fine quite a while. Yeah.
I have a Travato,
Okay.
and it's all of this about the vent and all of that. I understand all that now. I had it, the windows coated with Crizol, and the side, the paint on the outside all treated here when I bought it here. What soap what do I clean it with and what do I clean the windows with?
Just like you would a car. Any kind of an easy turtle wax car soap, treat it just like a regular car.
Even the acrylic windows.
Yep. However, acrylic windows are acrylic. It doesn't matter what you use to wash them. Eventually, they're better than they were. Everybody knows that it's like plexiglass. You can be as careful as you want. As soon as you start wiping anything across it, no matter how soft, over years it's going to start to get a little foggy. It's just the way they are. Plastic's plastic. It's not hard enough to keep a scratch out. So you don't want to go after it with probably not the same brush you wash the side of the house with or the side of the shed. Get a nice soft brush. Keep it clean all the time. Don't let it sit on the ground in between. You know, a lot of people, I won't say my wife's name. She'll be washing her new car, and then she'll take it right back in the bucket and let it sit there while she's doing something else, and then pick it out and start washing. I keep telling her all that dirt that was on the bottom is now in the brush. So now I've got her to where we have a different plan. And she says I'm crazy, but she loves me, so she does it. So just a nice turtle wax is going to be fine, and a nice soft brush. Yes.
So you were holding a squeeze tube of something. What was that and why was that not? You used it, but you say that was 25 years ago? Or?
Well, because since then other companies have hit the market, and they may still in production plants.
Okay.
But when I started, this was kind of what was on the market.
So the thing there is nice. It's a squeeze tube and
Yeah, it's like the toothpaste. You can use it, put the top on, put it back in your toolbox, and 6 months from now, it's there still.
otherwise we're using the ProFlex.
ProFlex.
Yeah.
And the only reason is just like anything. When this came out, it was the newest and latest and greatest in the day. And it's still really good stuff. However, other people come up with other stuff and it's a buck cheaper, and it's, so depending on what dealership you go to, they may have some stuff that they like better than this. But this is what we've used for years. 12 years I've been here, and it's great. And this is good stuff, and this is good stuff.
So what's the name of the one in your right hand?
Parbond.
Parbond.
It's just I don't believe ProFlex offers a squeeze tube like this. So I always go to this for, and I think Parbond still offers squeeze tubes. It's one of those things, preference at the time. 30 years from now, when I'm dead, there'll be some young guy standing up here telling you this other stuff's the greatest. Well, hope I make it more than 30.
Yeah. So I've been holding this for 10 minutes to remind myself.
That's why I kept talking. I knew it was annoying you.
The reason that I want to talk about this for a minute is the reason we use Acrosol, and we sell it out here, even though most people don't, is when you're all done spraying and wiping this off, it evaporates and there's nothing left. There's no residue. Some people use WD-40 and all sorts of things because it does clean well, but it leaves a residue. This leaves no residue, which means that when you're using this material on your rubber roof and you caulk it out and the carrier solvent is actually biting into the rubber, it's not biting into the residue of whatever cleaner you use, it's actually going directly into the rubber membrane. So this stuff's kind of expensive, but it's like gold. Everybody out here has a can, and it does an extremely good job. When we're all done, and it'll evaporate within a minute. When it's all gone, you get a really good adhesion between the rubber and the sealant. That's really good material. Yes.
Is it like acetone?
It's similar to acetone, but I think that this is not necessarily an organic. It's more of a ketone than anything else.
Okay, in the same sense, can a person use acetone?
A person could use acetone, but it's a light oil and it'll leave a residue.
Yeah.
And you know, that's what we're trying to get away from, because that's how you get the bubbles. It builds, it's a barrier between the two, and it just keeps getting worse. It doesn't allow the sealant to adhere.
I know they don't recommend using a oily base.
Right. Yeah, those organics, they leave a residue. And this is a ketone, and it's not an organic, and it'll evaporate. Better.
And it evaporates rapidly. So you're not gonna have to climb down and wait an hour to do your work. Do a vent, wait 2 minutes and go get after it.
It's well worth it if you want to do a good job.
And there's a lot in that can. So it is not super, and price is all relative. All, it all depends, but it's well worth it. We burn through a lot of it. And we use it for getting decals off, cleaning parts, it's just good stuff.
So you can use it to get the residue from decals off the
Yep.
side of the aluminum trailer.
That's what we use it mainly for. Body shop uses it for.
If you turn
decal
around
use.
real quick, look at what he's got. Stop.
Whoa.
Look at what he's got. Good stuff. Thank you. I just signed for that, paid for it about 5 minutes ago, so I just wanted you guys to
I
see.
can tell you he's going up on a roof.
Yeah, he's going up there to. He's,
To his own roof.
good man, Chris. A lot of good people here. So,
So other things, let me go over the Maxx air cover.
okay.
Man, I'm glad that dryer shut off.
I know.
That hum, just.
Yeah.
Okay, now that I concentrate, Maxx air covers. A lot of people say, I don't need those, I never had my vent open. Wrong answer. If you don't want to buy it from us, don't. I'm not here to sell you a vent. You want your roof vents open. You want to get the dirty air out of your coach, you want to get the moisture out of your coach, you want to get air in. Even if it's 28 degrees in Diamond Lake, you want to crack some windows, open a roof vent a little bit, even if it means running your furnace a little more. You got to get air circulation. These units are actually pretty tight. When they're sealed right, they're tighter than a house. So we get people call all the time. We got a huge leak in the bedroom. Every morning we get up, there's water dripping down the walls. No, it was the 2 quarts of humidity that come out of your body at night, you and your husband and your 3 dogs. It all attaches itself to the coldest part of it, which is the walls and stuff. If you get some air movement, it doesn't. Also, I like to have one in the bathroom for obvious reasons. That vent stays open more than others. But even if it's rare, a lot of time in Oregon, well, there's a lot of states where you can camp and it's still 70 degrees, but it's drizzly or rainy. You can have your vent up and have this on, even if it's raining outside. So they're for what they do, relatively inexpensive. You can get white, smoke, black. That's what we did in our bedroom. There's one, of course, in their infinite wisdom, most of these manufacturers decide to put the brightest, shiniest roof print they can find right over the bed. So that at 6 o'clock in the morning, you're wide awake. So they do make these black. So you can put a black one over the bedroom and clear one in the bathroom if you want to see out or smoke, whatever you want to do. So, sorry, I love those things.
Yes, they are good. Yes, ma'am.
So how spendy are they and how do they attach?
$10,000 a piece.
Okay, no, not good.
Well, how about, he knows the exact price. I know what it takes to install them. They're a half-hour piece to install. When they're installed items are guaranteed. It's $100 an hour. So $50 for the install. But I know we run specials quite a bit. So what are they installed a piece?
These by themselves, these are like $54. The lesser ones are like $34. We like this one, it has hinges, so you can lift it up and clean the vent, but it's covered all the time. Nothing's going to get in there. What we like is the amount of airflow. The smaller vents are rather restrictive, and this one is big enough to allow an automatic Maxx air to come up without restriction and open fully under power and then turn on. And you get very little loss of airflow with this one. And we get 103, 104 bucks, depending on the color. The smoke is the most expensive. The white is the cheapest, and the blackened. Installed, they're $103 to $104 a piece, somewhere in there. If you want to do it yourself, not a problem.
We install it, they mount to the vent. So we go up on top, these guys have done it enough. We're gonna charge you a half hour, he's gonna do it in 20 minutes. It's just
And that's per vent.
per vent.
Even on a Travato.
On a Travato, if you have to, on a Travato, the roofs get pretty busy because they got so much of a small area. Sometimes we'll have to do, she has a Travato, which is a nice little B-vent. So what happens is sometimes the bathroom vent is right next to the stack vent coming out of the roof. So sometimes we will have to put these on and put a little notch if it's up against something else. Then it's fairly common to notch these out a little bit here and there to get it to fit. It still keeps it rain from getting inside with the vent up.
They are fantastic.
Does something like this reduce the weathering of the caulking around your?
Yes, it does.
Oh, yeah.
Because it covers the UV rays from getting that. The sun does more damage than rain all day long.
So it'll protect the vent lid, and it'll protect the sealant, so you get probably twice the life out of them.
And as he says, these are our favorite because if you want to inspect your roof seals on your vents with the other ones, you have to unbolt the whole thing, lift it off, check it, put it on, bolt it. With this, when you install it, there are two slip pins. You just pull these two slip pins, it tilts up on hinges. You look at everything, tilt it back down, install the pins, and you're right back to where you were.
And they're not mounted to the roof, they are actually mounted to the side, the vertical side of the vent itself, vent frame. So they're no penetrations.
You have a couple, let me get back here real quick first. Either one you first, I know there's two
Well,
questions.
before one installs one of those, since you're covering up the sealant thingy bobber, is your worker going to say, hey, you need some
Oh, yeah.
thing?
Yeah, if there's any work that needs to be done before we cover it, we definitely would like to let you know. So, yeah, a lot of the times, we install a lot of these on rigs that come right, or basically almost brand new. A lot of people, when they get a brand new unit, they want these on, the manufacturers don't put them on. Even this base star here, you can see that vent doesn't have one. And I can guarantee you, if that is sold, it's probably, that guy's probably gonna have one on, because if it was me, I'm just weird enough that that white vent lid would bug me. So I would put a smoked or a black lid on it.
Oh, based upon the color.
Yeah, I mean,
Aesthetic.
if you ever see my desk, everything's square. I don't see that, I just have just this weird little thing. And that white vent, I've noticed about 32 times this morning. And if it's sold, your chances are that customers having us put them on. Yes, you have a question. Okay. I thought I saw your hand go up, sorry.
It was hers.
So I have a question. Would something like that go on at coaches all the time?
Yeah.
It would.
Yeah, they've got an older coachman, but vents for the last 30 years, still the same vents. Just a little bit different shape, but they're still the same size. So yeah.
It was the
Yes, you've been waiting patiently.
Oh, that's fine. So you talked about, checking the seals and then doing the roof cleaning and treatment. Is there a particular order that you would recommend? Like, would you clean your roof first and then go back and check all the seals?
So you pressure wash it, then you check your seals and seal them, and then the last thing you do is this.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
But if
the
you're just
icing.
spot checking, no reason to do a complete roof clean if you just did one last year and you only have a couple little spots.
Yeah.
You can just do it real quick with this. And,
Okay.
yeah.
I noticed where my plumbing vents come up and they've put some sealant around it. The sealant itself looks pretty gross. Just take a brush and the spick and span and to kind of clean it off.
Just you mean stuff sticking to it, it's getting dirty
Yeah,
looking.
it's kind of almost a slime a little bit there. I was
Yeah.
up there this morning, it was damp, I was kind of feeling it.
Yep, little spick and span or car wash, just something to wash it off.
Okay.
And if you're gonna do the sealant, of course, finish up with something like this and then sealant over it. Yes,
Okay, so I can mop it with spick and span as opposed to a pressure washer?
Right, yeah, if you're gonna pressure wash, if you have a pressure washer, don't use spick and span. But if you don't have a pressure washer, that spick and span is what, the first 25 years they were in business, that's what they put it right in their maintenance and warranty disclaimer to use spick and span on the EPDM because it does a very good job, leaves zero residue, very good stuff, and it's still available.
And so what about the sealant around the vents and stuff?
You're doing that whole thing.
Okay.
wash it all. Wash the top of your air conditioners,
Oh, I'm sorry.
the vents. Yeah, go ahead.
Does spick and span affect the sides in any way of the RV?
Can you use?
The sides,
I mean, once you get on the roof.
when it runs off,
Yeah.
anytime you're gonna wash the roof of your coach, plan on doing the whole thing.
Just so
However,
that you get it off.
yeah, just so you get it off.
And how much do you guys charge to, like, how do you charge for checking a roof out, doing basic?
Free roof inspection.
Yeah, we.
Free to inspect it. It's $130 an hour for whatever we find that you may want done.
Okay, thank you.
And
And
we'll let you know right there at the end of the inspection
Okay.
what it'll.
And we do have a detail center that charges by the foot, or I'm not sure what it is for the detail center, but they'll do anything they'll make stuff look almost brand new. Of course, there's a cost with it, but when I bought my fifth wheel was 6 years old when I bought it, and it just had that milky kind of, it was fiberglass side. It just wasn't shiny anymore. And the guy in detail said, for $200, it'll look great. And I was like, yeah, right. And I gave him $200, and when they pulled it out, it went by my office, and I didn't even realize it was my fifth wheel. I mean, it was that, it looked just like the side of that. And I've had it 4 years now, and it's still. My wife just said a couple days ago, we should probably have that done again. So $50 a year, they did good work.
This is actually about my decal. It's got a scrape with it, and it kind of, since the scrape curled up and it's hanging there, can that be repaired, or is it just, you're done with it?
We have a body shop. I'm clueless on that
Oh, you
stuff.
don't know?
I'm
So
sorry.
once the decal's torn and starts to peel, there's no fixing it.
Okay, that's what I wondered.
Unless you're.
I never liked the body shop.
Yeah, they can use some Macrosol and remove it, and then of course order a new one, depending on the year, and reinstall it.
So what's the best tool to apply the rubber roof treatment with? Is it
Your finger?
Paint? Paintbrush, a sponge
Mop.
brush,
A mop.
a big mop.
Yeah, they tell you, and there's videos, we're all YouTube professionals, but they go whoop, 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 and then they just kind of mop it out, slop it around. It's kind of like if you're a woodworker, you're putting lacquer or something on, it's kind of a thicker, it's thicker than milk, and you just mop it around and it self-levels, and it's kind of fun.
So you don't care if it gets on parts of the roof that don't have sealant on it, or?
Well, yeah, you want to keep it from going too far down the sidewalls.
Yeah, you don't want it to drip down the sidewalls, because then it's gonna harden on the sidewalls.
Yeah, and then
You wanna
it'll,
keep it on.
And does that wear off over time?
well, they say the longevity is about a year under normal conditions, to do it once a year, but it actually turns a light brown. It'll actually give you a little hue, but it's really good stuff, but it's just really slick.
So the lance doesn't have it slopes quite
Yeah.
a bit down the front.
Uh-huh.
And you just said not to let it run down?
Well, yeah, just, take a rag and work it over. If you do it from a ladder on a lance, do your edges, it's not gonna hurt your hands, and it doesn't, it's a non-irritant, and you can rub it around with an old rag, and just as long as you get, it'll adhere, it'll stick right to it. Yeah.
I heard Dave say harden. Is it,
Yeah, this gets
Is it
hard like
set
a
up?
nutshell.
it's said so.
Yeah, this gets hard. Yeah, yes, sir.
So what's the coverage rate, you know, if you've got a 30-foot by 8, that's 240 square feet?
This will do, depending on how carried away and how wild you are, this will do a 30 to 35 foot roof. Yeah, yeah.
And the weather that we're having now, of course, it's gonna rain tomorrow, so maybe this afternoon's not a good time to do it.
You know, I'm understanding that if once you do it 3 or 4 hours later, it's good for light rain. So, yeah, this is, you gotta pick a good day, and once it hits about 70, 72, and it's nice and dry up there, knock yourself out, you'll be fine. Yeah, you have fun. Yes, ma'am?
So you clean the roof first, and then you put the treatment on. That's not a,
They clean the roof, and then you go over any of these little things that you need to patch up.
Okay.
And then the last thing you do, this is the icing on the cake, this is the last thing you do.
Can you do one of two things to make that less slippery? Are there, like the sand?
Sand beads? Yeah.
Or can you add a grit material to that?
Not that I know of. I've never heard of anybody adding, I know I put some on the deck thing, but I've never heard of anybody doing that. Best thing to do is just, when you do it, don't plan on getting back up there for 90 days. And when you're up there, make sure it's dry. As long as it's dry, it's fine. You don't want to get up on a roof when it's wet and slippery. This guy needs to have this job up here. He's funnier than me. You hear, he just said golf shoes.
No golf, yes.
So my guess is once you've mopped that, your mop is probably not usable after that, right? You wouldn't want to
Yeah, I can go down to Dollar General and get one of those.
just one-time use?
Yeah.
Okay.
You ever been in there when they do a price check on a Dollar General?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Now,
So,
are you talking a string mop or a sponge mop? Okay.
Anything to get it on.
They're showing,
Whatever you want.
they show like a sponge mop, looks like.
Sponge mop's easy.
yeah, they're showing a sponge
I
mop.
think a string mop would suck up a lot of that you never get on your roof. It's all
Right.
about.
Kind of like using a bigger paint roller than you need for the wall you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, sponge mop's gonna be your best bet. You'll be able to control it better.
You can control it right. Talk about the dripping over the side of the edge.
Correct.
Roller would work.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your favorite brand?
Say what?
Is that your favorite brand, or are there other brands?
Yes, it is. That's a good question. She asked if this was my favorite brand. For 25 years, this company said, don't put anything on your rubber roof and clean it with spick and span. Dicor came out with a sealer after testing it, and they said, this is really good stuff. Next year, Dicor came out with a slightly cheaper version of this stuff and said, oh, you got to do this every year. So the truth of the matter is Dicor is not as good as Protectol. Protectol is, we've found that it's better to apply and it seems to last longer. The other stuff kind of flakes off, and Dicor makes good rubber and good sealants, but this is the best right here. I like this stuff, and it's very successful. Don't tell me you got a question.
No. So around windows, not outside the frame, but I would call it a gasket, but I don't know appropriate vocabulary, sorry.
Some windows do have gaskets. Some have no sealant around them. So if you don't see a sealant around your window, more than likely it has a gasket.
And what do you do when the gasket pulls away from the frame and so there's a gap?
You'd have us look at it and see what, you may be looking at something else. You may be looking at an inner rubber trim that's just a beauty trim.
And she has frameless windows, doesn't she?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't see her kind
We
of.
would want to look at it.
Yeah.
Northwood's real big on not having sealant around. However, after a while, that gasket they have smashed in between the walls is going to give way. So my theory is if I ever bought a Nash, probably within a year of owning it, it would have perimeter sealant around everything. And last but not least, go ahead.
For protecting the roof to RV protection, you use this Protect All rubber roof, but to protect the rubber that's around like your slide outs and other things, what is the product that you use to protect that rubber so it doesn't
Silicone spray.
So just silicone spray?
So we sell some here. If you look at Napa, they have silicone spray. It's all pretty much the same. If you look at the ingredients, that a silicone spray, it won't drop. It won't bring dirt in. Yeah, it's just the best thing to use.
What do you use that for?
After the
Rubber
seminar,
seals, slide rooms.
go over
okay.
and go over and ask the parts guys to show you the rubber seal protector for the slides.
Yeah,
That is the best stuff for rubber protector. Yes, ma'am.
So you mentioned slide outs, and so I'm wondering, what do you do with the top of the slide outs
Same thing.
as a roof?
Yeah, that's
Same
rubber
as a
roof.
Okay.
Just
Now,
run
the
your
best
rooms
thing-
out.
The best thing you can do is put a slide cover over it. Slide on it. Because that's mainly more for keep the sun and leaves and burn food.
Yeah, I always wanted to bring it back in. What's on the top of that? You're bringing it back?
You are. And slide toppers are great for that.
Yeah.
We have people who come in and say, my slide roof has a leak, put a cover over it. No. We'll fix your leak if you want, and we'll put a cover over it, but we're not gonna try to cover a leak with a slide topper, because you're still gonna get water under it.
So there's a sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
I nodded to him, and you pointed that direction.
Well, she's been working at it.
You're next.
Okay, so there's a rain channel that goes down both sides. It's like a little U-shaped thing that's
Like
screwed
a
in.
better.
And they put some sealant on there, which honestly, you can pull the thing out. It's just really held in by the screws. How important is it to seal the entire top edge? Go ahead and put some of that on there. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like it's a solid surface behind. I'm thinking if the water got good.
If it gets in there, what it'll do is it'll travel down the screw threads and into the wall. Yes. I know you're handling it, right? You've got it.
She went to sleep on you.
Oh, so with the free roof inspection, does that include the roof of the slide out?
To do the best.
Well, we'll make you go in and put all your side rooms out so we can look. Yeah. Usually we just look at the roof, but if you want us to, we'll look at your side room too. It is. And usually, most people, their slide rooms in are usually in. Most of the life of the slide room is spent in. So the slide room roofs don't usually seem to have problems as often.
In a previously owned vehicle, though, I think there might be a mistake.
Never mind. You should probably just sell that thing. Yes.
On your Protect All rubber roof solvent up there. Now, again, is this a preventative that you want to do this every so often on your travel trailer roof or your rubber? Is this something you just want to automatically do every year or?
Yeah. Make it on your maintenance schedule.
Is that something you guys can do? Is just saying we want you to put this on?
Our detail center can. If you're talking about the roof coating, stuff like that, yeah.
And again, that's kind of a waterproof.
Well, no, your rubber roof is waterproof. This just adds gears to it. This just keeps the white stuff from peeling off, which has refractants in it. It lengthens the life.
Like a wax for your paint.
Right, like a wax almost. Yeah.
So I've noticed on this morning that the EPDM, it looks like it comes over the side and then there's a metal strip that goes along there and it's sealed. But I noticed that I can actually, the membrane is almost a little bit buckled up there, or it's almost like there's a little too much there.
Real normal.
Yeah, it's normal.
Real normal. When they install that, they pull it down, put the sides on, but even where your 4x4 sheets come together, you're gonna notice humps.
Yeah.
And yeah, rubber roofs very seldom are not without bubbles or little humps on the edges. It's just kind of the nature of they've been like that forever. We have a customer right now that for 6 months has sworn up and down something's wrong, and and it even says on the Dicor website, this is very normal, that he's not buying it, so he's made his way clear up to me, and now I'm sure he'll go higher than that. But there's no repairs needed, it's normal. Come on, somebody's gotta have a good question.
So until somebody does have a question, I want to back up to your question about waxes. The cheap, I go next door and I buy a gallon of Carnauba wax. It's cheap wax, it's mostly paraffin. The whole point and the reason that they look nice now, but then they start looking milky, is there's actually micropores in that fiberglass finish. And those micropores fill up with dirt. And that's what gives it the milky look. And so when we buff it out, we use a cutting compound that cuts out those pores and then along with it the dirt. So the best thing is to wax your coach a couple times a year. And back in the 90s, it was really popular to go south to Mexico when, you know, we didn't have all these tensions. And you get across the border down there, and there was guys standing there, $100, they would wax your coach from end to end. And these old RVers, these snowbirds back then, they would go down there and have it when they got down there, and then they would have it done when they left. And the reason is, besides it being really cheap, and the guys did a really good job, but it fills these pores up. And it's not so much what the best wax is, it's get that wax on there. And do it a couple times a year to get those pores filled up so that they don't fill up with dirt. If they're full of wax, paraffin type wax, which is that's what a Carnauba wax is, mostly paraffin and micromolecules of paraffin. And it fills up those pores so that you don't get the garbage and the dirt and everything, and it looks better. That's the reason that we wax. It doesn't protect.
I had that surface put on it.
Yes.
I paid for the extra something
Yeah.
that was bonded to the
Crystal
paint.
fusion, man.
Well, that was the windows, but there was
Oh.
something else on the paint,
You got the Sealajet.
the Sealajet.
Okay, but that doesn't sound as fun.
Oh,
I'm from the 60s.
Sealajet. All you need to really do is wash the unit. Start looking a little, treat it just like you would a brand new car.
Yeah.
If it starts looking a little fuzzy, 5, 6 years from now, take it to the detail shop, tell them, give it a buff job.
Because that's a permanent version of wax. Semi-permanent. So while we're talking about all of this roof maintenance and everything, I really like to talk about this. Buy one of these things, they're cheap, they're $11. You take the drain out of your water heater, not standing in front of it, but stand to the side, and then stick this in there and flush your water heater out. And you do that in the fall when you're getting ready to, you know, clean everything up for the winter. This is a good time to do this. And then you do it again in the spring. Really good. It gets that skunk odor out of your water, and it gets all that garbage out of the bottom of your water heater. And the last thing I have is these work. If you don't have a covered shed, these aqua sheds, I've had one on my trailer now. I got a work and play little trailer. It's not too big, 18, 19 feet. I've had that on there for 6 years. Taking it off once a year, and it's still doing a really good job. And you can put this on, and you don't do it on a windy day, that's for sure. And I use my wife and a couple ladders, and we start at the front, work our way back, drop it over, and it's got corset ties in the front and the back, get it nice and snug so it's not flopping around. It really does a good job. You can put it on when the trailer or fifth wheel motorhome is wet. And this type right here has a design in the material that lets it expirate. It lets it breathe and let the moisture out. I put it on my trailer wet, and a couple of weeks later I'm in there and it's dry as a bone. Flyback. I'm sorry?
Will it keep moisture out? You said it'll
Will it keep moisture out?
but if it's raining,
Yes, it will
Yeah,
breathe.
yeah,
It's a
that's-
tie vent. It's like a tie vent. Any moisture enter it will wick out and not want water.
Yeah, and to answer your question correctly, if you had a rainstorm like we did a few days ago, it's probably gonna be wet inside. But
You can't push its way through.
after a couple days, it's dry as a bone again. And you don't have the UV, you don't have the moisture just sitting, and you don't have the dirt. And it's very good.
What brand is that?
I don't know, we sell them out there. We stock,
Cadco
you're
or
supposed
the,
to know these things.
No. No, we're true. We don't, if you don't buy nothing today, we're okay with that. We just want you to know, if you don't buy one from us, buy one from somebody.
yeah,
But we only sell the ones that are there are some out there you can get on the internet for $16. They're exactly what they are. They're just tarp, and all it does is eat at the paint, and it won't breathe. And you get in there, everything on the roof's gonna be moldy green, and last thing you wanna do is put anything that won't breathe on your coach.
no tarps.
No tarps.
so if I remember right, you're kind of the opposite opinion, you don't put a cover on your
I
fifth
don't.
wheel?
I use mine all the time, and I do a little more maintenance. I clean the roof a little more often and stuff, but we use ours, all but a couple months of the year. Ours could leave at a moment's notice, and I don't want to have to mess with that. Not that I don't think your problem's fine, I'm just not gonna.
Yeah.
When you get way older, like Dan, you probably have to plan these trips in advance. He's got advanced time.
Does somebody back here first?
Do you have to climb up on top of the RP? Can you just use a tall ladder?
You can try. You're gonna need 2 tall ladders and 2 people. Because trying to stick it over one edge is, and then move your ladder to the other side, or try to put it on this edge, and that edge will fall off, and
But to the ties, you could anchor on the opposite side that you want to chuck over to the other. That it's not going to break anything, so.
probably a little heavier than you're gonna chuck over. This isn't gonna be this is gonna be one of those buy it and
I
try
will
it.
figure it out.
And eventually you will have the system down like Dan and his wife do. Just like my wife and I have our system, when we back in within 10 minutes, I can have the fire going. I mean, she knows exactly what her things are to do, what I do, and it happens perfect every time. Unless I forget something. Here's the end of it. But yeah, just like anything, if you buy it, you're gonna find the best way to do it. First time you do it, it's gonna be awkward and cumbersome, and you're gonna be like, I never wanna do that again. However, if next time, let's try it this way. And after 2 or 3 times, it'll get to where you can put it up fairly quick. Yeah.
What about tire covers?
What about tire covers?
Don't?
Don't. If you insist on having tire covers, put white ones on, lighter in color, or better yet, just don't. And if you park next to your house and the sun's gonna be shining on it, you get you some little white pieces of plywood and just lean up against your tires. All you're doing is adding an oven to your tire. The sun's gonna shine on it, it's just gonna get extra warm in there. It's gonna save it from the UV rays, but the heat's gonna degenerate the rubber. It's one of those things. Tires nowadays, they won't even guarantee for, a couple years. When I was growing up, you ran tires until you couldn't run them anymore. And now that they've made, the EPA's got involved, and rubber has to be composted, it has to degrade within a certain amount of time. Tires just aren't the same as they used to be. So the last thing you want to do is heat them up warmer than they're supposed to be. So it does look cool though, when you drive through the park and neighbors got custom black ones on there with their names on it, a picture of their little dog. It looks cool. And
You
all
saw
it
that
does
coach too, huh?
I did see that coach.
But you're saying the white ones are okay?
White's better, just because it's not gonna pull the heat in as much as a dark one. If you insist on having them, yeah. They actually do sell some really, I think Adco sells some really, I don't like to use the word cheap because they're really not. They're kind of like almost like a burlap bag material. And they're kind of a whitish yellow. You know, they're more cloth than they are vinyl. And they just kind of slip up over the tire. And actually air can get through them. And I've seen them and I thought for myself, that's probably the best one I've ever seen. And I think they're $5 tires. I mean, they're really inexpensive.
So the last thing I want to talk,
No, there was more hands up.
I bought an Empire cover for our coat, okay? You know, and they say you don't want to try to put it on with less than 2 people. You know, you want to have some, they all kinds of cautions about trying to put it on. You say that they're designed to breathe, to let the air out, I mean, the water out. I mean, how do they make
the Aquashed, they have a patented process that they print the quilt.
Yeah.
And it actually, the theory is the surface tension of water droplets will sit on top, but water vapor underneath can pass through.
I see.
So basically it forms a membrane.
That's that particular brand.
Yeah, yeah. And I think they are ATCO, but
They're ATCO. And they basically do the same thing with houses and have for a long time. Tyvek. There's different brands now, but Tyvek used to be the, water would come down. If water got in, it would run down the face without penetrating through the hole.
Right.
But the moisture in the house would go out the hole.
Right. So any of these covers ought to have that kind of
well,
technology.
if they're the Aquashed type. But anyway, the other one is the Tyvek, and the Tyvek is nothing that anybody that lives in the rain capital of the world wants to know anything about. Because if you put this is designed for high heat, high sun intensity, but they fall down really fast in the wet environments. And they'll hold any moisture in. If you put this Tyvek cover on your coach when it's wet, 3 months later you take it off, it'll still be there. It'll still be wet. And it'll be moldy and mildewy and stinky. So this Tyvek looks nicer, but it is designed for eastern environments on the other side of the mountain where all you have is heat and no moisture. That's really important. Don't let them upsell you to a Tyvek because that'll ruin it.
The white stuff's for heat, gray stuff's for rain.
There you go. Remember that. I've got so much in my head that I've forgotten.
He's probably forgot more than I'll ever know.
No, that's not true. No, not at all. We just have different areas. But anyway, there you go. That's all I have. Any other questions? Anything for Dave?
Yeah. One quick question, and you guys are probably gonna cover it next month. Snowfall, like last year, we had 1.5 2 feet of snow. Do I need to go out there and brush that off?
Yeah.
You're going to break your vents and everything else. Just leave it.
What snow we have, those roofs, like I say, I'm 275 and I'm at a square foot. There's not going to be enough snow in a square foot. It's going to be any heavier than we are.
I was just curious,
up in Alaska, I'm sure they might get 6-8 feet on top of one line.
Yeah, that'd be.
They do like they do in houses, have to get off. If now around here,
No, because laying in bed at 3:15 in the morning, you hear your patio cover collapse.
so yeah, patio covers are usually meant to.
It's the ice.
Yeah, it's just weight in general.
Yeah.
Even ice is heavy, but however, ice actually lays out and has a bigger surface area than snow because it's like laying a piece of plywood across. It's like laying a 50-pound piece of plywood across your motorhome rather than a 50-pound, 2-inch square lead weight. Ice is heavy because it accumulates, but we don't usually get that much accumulation here. So here you're fine. You go to Alaska, lose nothing, you might want to be concerned. Husky and the Washington Huskies good.
It's bad enough living here.
So before I get to you, I wanted to say, to answer your question, I started in Idaho in the RV industry. I was going to a university in Washington State and started working there. And one time this logger came in the late fall. He had some warranty problems with his 40-foot beautiful fifth wheel. Well, where he was, it snowed, and there was 3 feet of snow on top of his fifth wheel. By the time he got it down out of the woods and down to Moscow, Idaho, the frame was like that, and the walls went like that, and the roof went like that. So 3 feet at 50 miles an hour, probably not a good thing. Well, I saw it, we just couldn't believe it. I totaled the trailer, and insurance guy said he was an idiot, and he was. Anyway, what can I do for you?
So I have a Tiffin. Do they, sampling the roof, do they have chases in there? If you wanted to move, like an HDMI cable runs from the front all the way to the back?
Yeah. You're always better to go down and, you're always better to go down and through.
Okay.
Than
Yeah,
back
there's-
up. Or up and across the roof and down.
Over the roof.
There are chases in everything, especially motorhomes, because they have AC ducts usually in the roof. Even some RV or trailers have AC ducts in the roof. But those chases are usually foam chases. They're designed only for that. And usually they'll go down and around and over. And trying to actually chase that chase is almost impossible.
No, that's.
So pulling something out and then pulling something in behind it like an HDMI cable, probably not gonna happen.
You can pull something about this far, and
It'll
then
hang
it'll
on.
hit a corner and it's done.
You're done.
Yeah, now we've tried all of that. Yeah.
Underneath.
Even backup monitors, we usually go down the A-pillar, down along the frame, up through the bottom, take a tail light out, that window out, chase it up to that tail light, then over to the window, then up to the, yeah. We usually have to order extensions of the cable just to get the extra light we need.
Sure.
There's no such thing as pulling it through.
How about for cleaning the underneath side of your awning after you've put it out and there's maybe some streaks on there, you know, when they're rolled up and they get water in them and they seem to hold water. So what's the best way to just clean the
The
awning?
guys at the detail shop use cleaner and bleach. And the bleach kills the bacteria that's been living in that rolled up soggy wet awning for 6 months. So a little cleaner, a lot of bleach, and just.
We just use something like Dawn detergent and
Yeah.
some bleach.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, another way to slow that down is, it's been raining for 2 months, you have a couple nice spring or whatever days, we're not gonna let your awnings sit out all day long, let it get dry again. Because we've had people say, well, it was dry when I put it away, and now I want you to replace it because it's got streaks. Well, you still have an opening, and water touches those ends and sucks in just like a roll of toilet paper.
So the cover would probably help keep the water out of your rolled up awning.
Yes, it will. Anything else? Come on, you gotta be good for one more.
Well, I do a replacement mold for one end of an awning, but that's another,
Okay.
I would like to get one for it.
Well, I'm glad to hear your big trip last weekend was good.
Several weeks, yes.
Okay.
Use the shower, still don't know which is the gray tank and the black tank.
Well, one stinks a whole lot.
All right, kids.
You'll figure that out. Hey, it's been fun.
Thank you guys very much. We did good.